Hey guys, I just wanted to pop in here and give my own little response to this discussion post. So I'm asking you guys to look at geologic maps, and here what I've done is I've pulled up my own geologic map for my location, where I live actually. So I live right over here on Cave Ridge Road, and if I were to describe this area, I would describe it as a topographic high in terms of water, as I don't have any issues to worry about with regard to flooding or anything like that. I'd also mention that I was right along an area called Cave Ridge, just south of the Knob, which is a location with an elevation of about 1,423 feet. So I'm at about 1,100 feet altogether. Across the road from me is actually a sinkhole, which isn't on this map because the contour interval on here is not detailed enough to show that. This map is 1974's geology of the Woodstock, Wolf Gap, Connickville, Edinburgh quadrangles, and you're looking specifically at the Connickville quadrangle here. So looking over here, if I find the symbol for this is OB, and this color pink. If I scroll back out and look at the key over here, it tells me that I am looking at an Ordovician layer here, specifically the Beekmantown Formation, which is a massive greater brown dolomite with white chert, minor bluish gray limestone, and dove gray sublithographic limestone. In other words, the limestone's pretty fine grained and not a lot of fossils in it. There are fossils, but they're hard to find. The Beekmantown Formation tends to be mostly a dolomite, and dolomite is calcium magnesium carbonate, which means that it's accumulated in a marine environment that would have been a little more acidic for dolomite to have formed. Dolomite also forms in association with algal mat deposits, which is also another way that we get the dolomites in our area. So, but the main thing is it's about 450 million years old, deposited during the Ordovician. The layer below that, the Stonehenge, is older, and then the Conococheague is older. There's a couple layers that are younger, and that's the Newmarket and the Lincolnshire, and I'm using superposition to discuss that, which you may have learned about back in earth science. Basically, the stuff that's on top is younger, the stuff that's below is older. That's how the stratigraphy works. But you'll note here that these rocks in my area appear in a banded form, right? So it's not just one area, one color covering the entire thing where the rocks were flat. In this case, the rocks have been tilted, so I've got the whole sequence of rocks. In fact, I've got repeating sequences due to faults, and of course over here, this is the Great North Mountain Fault. But repeating sequences, or at least layers, you can see them on edge on. And if I look for a cross section here, the straight line right through here is a cross section line. If I go to the bottom of it, I'll see B prime down here, and at the other end of it, I'll see B over here. If I zoom out enough, I should be able to find the B to B prime cross section, and that's this one here. So you can see the rock layers, which all originally were horizontal back before the mountains were formed 248 million years ago with the slamming of the creation of Pangea. You can see I'm pretty close to Cabin Hill over here, not too far over. I'm actually over in the OB, so I'm not right along the cross section, but this gives you an idea of what's going on. There's faults, folds. The folds and faults are the result of the mountain building event that created this part of the Appalachians at that time. These were all horizontal at one time, but they're not anymore. So we have what we call a syncline, where the rocks are dipping down below and they would eventually come back up, but they're broken off by a fault over here. This is a syncline, hence we get the name Supinlick Syncline, because that's named after that particular ridge at the top of this, and the top and center of this syncline. You'll see another cross section over here. You'll also note that this map has a scale bar, and it's at 1 to 24,000 scale. Pretty typical. All right, so I'm sitting on top of a limestone and dolomite layer here, and when I go hiking through my backyard, I've been back to where this dam is actually, and this little stream last year had a lot of water in it. Normally, it doesn't have any water in it, but so I can, my house being right about here, I can hike down into this little valley, cross this little stream, and hike up to the top of the hill, which my in-laws own over here, and never ever leave the Beekmantown Formation. So all of this is Beekmantown. Beekmantown, though, can be broken up into different members, and so it's like taking a book and breaking it up into chapters. So if the entire book is the Beekmantown Formation, in this case looking like this, then I can break it up into little chapters we can call members. And I actually live on the member called the Pinesburg Station Dolomite. Sounds like I'm getting ready to get on a train. Yeah, here's a cross-section line. There's my house. So yeah, it's not too far away that I've got the alluvium over here. This alluvium is loose sediment. TD means tertiary. The D, in this case, terrace deposits. So these are ancient floodplain deposits from an ancient river valley that's no longer there. Part of the ancient Shenandoah, really, even though the river is way over off to the east. But these are really ancient deposits. So tertiary was the period, is the name we used to use for the period that preceded the Quaternary. Now we refer to it as the Paleogene, and so things have changed since 1974, where some of our terminology has also. Okay, but anyway, so if I go one direction, I'm going down section or getting to older rock, and if I go the other direction, I'm heading towards younger rock. Anyway, so these are some of the basic features of my area. And if I were, Swover Creek, by the way, there's a really great place back here to get pizza. So if I start at my house and I walk over the hill, over the knob, right about over here is Swover Creek Farm Brewery. And you're not old enough for part of that, but they do make some homemade, really good blackberry lemonade when the blackberries are in season, and they make great pizza too. And my wife makes all the mugs. So anyway, it's a really cool place. But you can see the alluvial material down here in the valley along Swover Creek. And if you follow it along, of course, you'd follow it on to the next map. Anyway, kind of fun stuff. So again, I'm doing mine as a video. You don't have to use a video, but I want to look forward to learning about your location. Tell us about the geology.